The Galactic Council had always considered humanity a curious anomaly. When Earth joined the interstellar community, the elder races watched with bemused interest as these aggressive primates fumbled through diplomatic protocols they'd refined over millennia. The humans were tolerated, even pitied, a species that had barely escaped self-destruction now playing at civilization among their betters. Commander Indiana Chen stood on the bridge of the UESS Retribution, her jaw clenched as she reviewed the intelligence report for the third time. Beside her, Knox Sullivan, her second-in-command and closest friend, maintained his characteristic calm, though she could see the fury building behind his steel-gray eyes. "Confirm the data again," Indiana ordered, her voice tight. "Already done, ma'am." 3 times, Knox replied. "The Zelthori mining operation on Kepler 442b. 217 children. Human children. Ages 4 to 14. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. It had been a routine survey mission. The science vessel Endeavour had detected unusual energy signatures near a supposedly uninhabited system. When they investigated, they found something that would ignite a fire across the galaxy, a slave colony, and among the various species forced into brutal labor, they discovered human children. The children had been taken from the outer colonies, snatched during pirate raids that the Council had dismissed as unfortunate but inevitable incidents of frontier expansion. The Zelthori, a species known for their mining expertise and their membership in the Council's Economic Committee, had purchased them through intermediaries. They worked better in tight spaces, the Zelthori explained when finally confronted. Their small fingers could reach mineral deposits that even specialized drones couldn't extract. The Council's response had been measured, diplomatic. Sanctions were proposed. Committees were formed. The Zelthori issued a formal apology and promised to gradually phase out the practice over the next decade. Reparations would be discussed. Perhaps in a few years, at the next assembly, Indiana had sat in that council chamber, listening to the alien diplomats debate whether a 10-year timeline was realistically achievable, or if they should extend it to 15. She watched the Zelthori representative, a slug-like creature that communicated through bioluminescent patterns, argue that immediate cessation would cause economic disruption across 3 sectors. Not, one of them had used the word children. They said assets, biological resources, acquired, laborers. That was when Indiana realized something the galaxy had never truly understood about humanity. There were lines that, once crossed, erased all concepts of measured response. "Send the message to Earth Command," Indiana said quietly. "Full military authorization requested. Target: Zelthori corporate holdings and any facility involved in the slave trade." Knox nodded, his fingers already moving across the tactical display. "The Council will call it an act of war. Let them." Within 72 hours, the entire human fleet mobilized. Not just the military vessels. Every ship capable of mounting weapons answered the call. Merchant Marines retrofitted cargo haulers with missile batteries. Colonial defense forces stripped their home systems bare to join the armada. Even civilian volunteers, parents who looked at those intelligence photos and saw their own children, crewed whatever vessels they could find. The galaxy had forgotten something crucial about Earth's history. Humanity hadn't reached the stars because they were the strongest or the smartest. They'd survived because when pushed to the absolute edge, when faced with extinction or horror beyond comprehension, humans didn't break. They became something terrifying. The Zelthori homeworld was a fortress. 12 orbital defense platforms, each one capable of reducing a planet to ash. A fleet of 300 warships, battle-tested and crewed by mercenaries from a dozen species. Energy shields that could withstand sustained bombardment from any known weapon system. The human fleet arrived without warning, without demands, without mercy. Indiana watched from the Retribution's command deck as her ships tore through the Zelthori defenses like a hurricane through paper walls. Humanity had studied every species in the Council, analyzed their tactics, their weapons, their psychology. The other races fought wars according to established conventions, measured escalation, proportional response, rules of engagement refined over thousands of years. Humans threw away the rulebook. They used tactics the Council had banned as excessively cruel. They targeted economic infrastructure with the same priority as military assets. They didn't seek to defeat the Zelthori. They sought to make an example of them. Knox coordinated the ground assault while Indiana commanded the orbital theater. Special forces units, many composed of volunteers who were parents themselves, breached the mining facility where the children were held. The operation took 17 minutes. 0 casualties among the children. The Zelthori guards weren't given the option to surrender. As the human fleet systematically dismantled 3 centuries of Zelthori civilization, the Galactic Council scrambled to respond. Emergency sessions were called. Ceasefire demands were issued. The elder races, species that had guided galactic civilization for millennia, suddenly found themselves confronting something they'd never encountered, a species that valued their children more than galactic peace. The Zelian ambassador, whose civilization was 2 million years old, sent a desperate message to Indiana directly. "Commander, your response is disproportionate. We can resolve this through proper channels. Your species risks isolation, even expulsion from the Council." Indiana's response was broadcast across every channel in the galaxy. "You call this disproportionate? You found our children in chains and you formed a committee. You discovered them bleeding in darkness and you proposed a timeline. Let me be clear to every species listening. Earth doesn't negotiate about our children. We don't compromise. We don't wait for the proper channels. Touch one human child anywhere in this galaxy and we will find you. We will burn your worlds. We will scatter your fleets. We will make you a cautionary tale, told to frighten civilizations yet unborn." The message ended with footage from the rescue operation. Human soldiers carrying exhausted, traumatized children to safety, many of the hardened warriors openly weeping as they worked. The galaxy learned several lessons that day. They learned that humanity's capacity for violence, so carefully restrained behind diplomatic pleasantries, was not weakness but choice. They learned that humans bonded with their young in ways that superseded reason, politics, or self-preservation. They learned that a species, willing to nearly destroy itself multiple times throughout its own history, would not hesitate to burn down galactic civilization for its children. The Zelthori civilization collapsed within weeks. Every species that had participated in or benefited from the slave trade found themselves facing human economic restructuring, a polite term for systematic dismantling of their infrastructure. The Council's attempts at intervention were ignored. What would they do? Declare war on humanity? Every species that ran the calculations reached the same conclusion. Humans would lose that war, but they'd take half the galaxy with them, and they wouldn't hesitate. Knox found Indiana in the observation deck after the final Zelthori stronghold fell. The children were safely en route to Earth, accompanied by more medical and psychological support than had ever been assembled for any mission in human history. "The Council is calling for your court-martial," Knox said. "Crimes against galactic peace. Disproportionate use of force. The list is extensive." Indiana stared out at the stars, at the galaxy that had tried to teach humanity its place. Let them try. They're also asking for a meeting. Informal, they want to renegotiate Earth's position in galactic society. For the first time in weeks, Indiana smiled. I'm sure they do. The galaxy had wanted humanity to learn how civilization worked among the stars. Instead, humanity had taught them something far more fundamental. Some bonds are stronger than empires. Some lines must never be crossed, and a species that evolved by protecting its young from predators would never, ever stop. The fire still burned across 3 sectors. The galaxy would remember, and the children were coming home.